tools that will typically be your go-to regardless of what art program you're using, because I am a firm believer in that art is what you make of it. It is not about the tool, it is about you. It is what you can put into it. Don't let technology limit you. Don't let your resources limit you. If you want to make something, there's a way to do it, and I guarantee if you want to do something, you can find a way. You will find a way. Anything you want to do, you can commit to, right?
So I'm going to go over the basics of navigating a digital art program. I'm using Procreate here because I think it's extremely accessible. It's currently what I use right now, and I think it's really intuitive and easy to look at. So, first and foremost, you have brushes, built-in smudge tool, which is unique to Procreate, an erasing tool, which again is unique to Procreate in the way that it functions. And I can go over that a little bit more specifically. You have layers, which layers allow you to navigate with different items on each layer without affecting things on other layers. So if I want to draw on this layer, while I have a crop of the screen on this layer, I will select a brush. This is a brush that I made, so I'm going to use that one. I use it for everything. Go back over to my layers, have a brush selected, and I can draw on this layer without affecting the image down here. It's fully intact. You can show or unshow your layers. You can change layer modes. You can change opacity of layers, which is how visible a thing is. So if it's fully opaque, you can't see through it. If you lower the opacity, you can see through it. Different layer modes offer different effects on the layer. So if I want to shade something, multiply is going to be a good option. Darken, shade. In Procreate, the darker layer modes are higher up, brighter layer modes are lower down. Play with layer modes, see what they do to your illustration. It can be really fun to play with and really cool to look at. There you go. An eraser, so you have to do other workarounds in other programs, but Procreate is pretty unique in that you select whether or not you want to make a stroke or erase a stroke, and you can select the tool that you want to do that with. So if I want a different texture from what I'm erasing to what I drew, I'm capable of doing that, which is really cool. This over here is how you change the size of the brush that you're using. So if I want to go back, select my brush, change the size of it. I can change the size of the stroke, obviously. If I want to change the opacity of the stroke, if I want it to be more transparent, I can do that. Can't even really see it when I do that low. Or raise the opacity, and that can be more helpful than you know. That's why it's right here. This right here for Procreate is the dropper tool. This allows you to select any color that you see on your screen, and that way you can select new colors. I'm going to clear this layer. This over here. So what I'm doing now is, if you want to affect the layer, this letter is how you change the layer mode. This is how you change the opacity. This is how you can do other qualities with the layer. So you can copy a layer. That's what I use most often. Clear layer most often. And then some other cool stuff that are a bit more specific, a bit more niche down. Layer masks are their own topic. Clipping masks are their own topic. Being able to invert a layer is a useful tool. Fill a layer, clear, or I said that, copy, select. So you can manually tap the layer and hit select. Or if you want to select multiple in Procreate, drag to the right. And that allows you to select multiple. A thing that I've seen in most programs is the ability to group and ungroup layers. So, rename your layers allows you to organize your process. If you wanted these to be in a folder together, you would drag to the right, select multiple, group. So those are just some quick accessibilities to layers, some unique things. Obviously adding a layer. Next, I'd like to talk about color selection. We've talked about tools and how you use those. This here is essentially a colorless blender, so you can draw a stroke. I'm going to select a different color here and make sure we're on the right layer. You can draw a stroke. You can smear the stroke or blend the stroke. It's a colorless blender, same way you could do with traditional markers, or an eraser, and select the tool that you want to erase with, same way you could smear, same way you could draw. So now we're going to talk about the color selection. So color selection in Procreate, disk is standard. Harmony allows you to get color palettes, I guess. I don't really use Harmony. I wouldn't worry about it when you're starting off. Palettes is, you know, physically you can make your own cards or your own compact ones. Values are what I started with, which I think are pretty unique and cool. So it allows you to select hue, saturation, and brightness and compare it to RPG, or directly select RBG, which is red, green, blue. This is useful for printing using RBG, versus hue, saturation, and brightness is just the color you're selecting. So hue is the physical color. Saturation is how close to gray it is, or the full I guess effect of the color. And then brightness is how light or dark the color is. So I can show you that on classic, which is, you know, you have a standard box where you can just pick the color you want. Color, saturation, so fully saturated, not saturated, grayscale, and then brightness, so brightness and darkness. So this is how dark the color is, how bright, brightness, and move it from there. This can be very useful when you're first starting out. It gives you a better grasp on your values. And then disc, of course, just selecting the color that you want. So, you know, generalize. Now I'm going to go over here and talk about these. So this here is actions. That's how it's labeled in Procreate. Adding, you know, insert a photo, insert file, cut, copy, paste. I don't really use those. I use a quick mode, but I'll show you that in a different video, like how I streamline my process. But if you want to cut, copy, insert, canvas, crop and resize, these are different settings that allow you to do different things within Procreate that I'll talk about more later. Flip horizontal and vertical, this is just your ability to look at your canvas. Flip your canvas, it helps be able to tell when things are lopsided. It's easier when you're not like physically in front of a piece of paper, like you know, looking at a digital medium. It's a lot harder to tell when your stuff lines up properly. I would flip your canvas. Sharing, this allows you to export your file. So when you want to save your illustration, and it's not just saved within Procreate, you're going to share the file, or you can just take a screenshot. I'll talk about them more later. But so share the file, select the type that you want. There's a lot of tutorials for how these work, but essentially I pretty much always use a PNG file. It allows you to have a transparent background, stuff like that. Video, Procreate has it built in an automatic time lapse, which is extremely useful and cool. You don't have to manually record your process. It'll record the strokes that you do, so it won't collect dead air time. So like if the canvas exists and you're not doing anything to it, it's not in the recording. The recording records your strokes. Preferences, don't worry about any of that when you're starting off. Adjustments. So this is the adjustments menu. You can do a lot of cool stuff with this. I think it deserves, I could probably do its own video on it, but the first ones that I think you might want to worry about when you're first starting off is blurring effects. So I'll teach you how this works in Procreate. This is the threshold, or maybe not necessarily, it's not called threshold, but it's how strong or weak the effect that you're doing is. In Procreate, don't worry about that. In Procreate, you're going to drag to the right if you would like to increase the effect of anything that you're doing. Anytime this top thing shows up and this bar shows up, you're going to drag it. And that's how strong the thing you're doing is. So for Gaussian blur, you know, I want something to be blurred, less crisp. There you go. Motion blur, perspective blur, these function a little bit differently. All of them are just blurring. Noise, sharpen, bloom, glitch, halftone, these all do completely different things. Noise is like a texture. Sharpen is the way it affects your lines, or like the edges of the thing, I should say. So like these edges, you know. Halftones, chromatic aberration, those are cool effects. Liquify is its own tool. Hue, saturation, brightness. So the same way we talked about on those sliders, this is how you can adjust it after the fact. It'll change the hues based on what you already have. So if you have different colors, like see that was a pink, that's a blue. Now it's a green and a purple. Saturation, if I want them to be extremely saturated versus lowering that. And brightness, dark, light. You can manually adjust those after. I think having access to hue, saturation, and brightness right off the bat is pretty cool. Color balances, it's hard to mess with that. And curves, it's hard to mess with that. I could show you how that works. Gradient maps are hard to mess with. I have a tutorial on that. This is the selection tool. So extremely useful. Again, same thing. It's in most art programs. You're going to want to look for where your selection tool is. Procreate has it on the top left. So there's automatic, which is you tap and it will select everything around what you have on that layer. freehand, you manually draw what you would like to select on the layer. It doesn't affect other layers. It will stick to the layer that you're on. Rectangle is, we're going to undo that stroke. It will just give you a square. You don't have to worry about it. And then ellipse will do the same thing, but with a circle, as opposed to like a square to select the area that you would like to see. All right? And then this here is, so after you select something, like this is how you draw a selection. You can add or remove, and you can add to the selection. So say I'm just going to do freehand right now. I'm going to select everything on this layer, and then we're going to go to this. Once you have drawn the thing however much you want to select, you then tap the arrow, and then that's going to open this menu where you can affect the thing that you've selected. You can flip it. You can change how you're morphing what you're doing. So if you want to use freeform, this will not maintain the dimensions of what you've selected, but you can move it and resize it. Uniform will maintain the dimensions of the thing you've selected while you move it. Distort will allow you to select individual points and move them to change the shape of the thing that you have selected. And warp will create this grid. You can move individual points of the thing that you have selected in order to adjust it. Again, most programs have a version of this. You'd have to look in the EUI for where it is. Procreate is pretty cool and unique in that most things are named, like distort, warp, uniform. You can see all of that. You can see what, like you can read what it is, versus other programs will have visual icons and indicators, and normally you'll have to hover with a mouse or you'll have to right click to see what it says, the name of the thing it is, to figure out what the icon actually does. Yeah, so that's just a basic overview of navigating the interface. And again, most programs, or I've said this 6,000 times I think, but all programs generally have these tools in different layouts and different effects. Play with stuff, see what you get, see what you like, and will have more specialized tutorials, and I'll see you in the next one.